Hi, in today's video we're going to try and repair this 12 volt tyre inflator for your car, or you could use it for a bicycle, etc. This is not mine, this is my friend's. I've actually got the same one, but mine is slightly older model. I think it's exactly the same except for the colour is different on it. This has got a black colour and my one is a kind of grey colour, but it might be useful, the fact I've got the same, to try and work out what's wrong with this one. So let's just pop it out of the box. Now this is the second one of these that my friend has actually purchased. The first one went wrong. I don't think you can find receipts, so he just went out and brought another one, and then this one's gone wrong as well. So what basically happens with this is you're supposed to be able to set on these buttons the pressure that you actually want the tyres to be inflated to. So if you want 30 psi, you can select it as psi. You can also change between psi, bar and kph as well. But the buttons don't do anything. So it will run, it will pump up, but it won't actually let you change any of the settings. And I don't think it even lets you see what the pressure is either. So let's just hook the power supply up to this so you can see what I mean. So let's get that, switch that off. Okay, so let's get 12 volts. So hopefully, I'll bring it up a bit, you can see there. So we got there, PSI says 0, and if we try and press these buttons, nothing happens at all. And I believe it doesn't even count up. I don't know if I can get us a seal, but I'll try it. Well, actually the motor's not even running. Oh, mind you, that might be because of the power supply. Let me bring the amperage up. Let's try that. Yeah, so it won't let, I mean, I'm giving that 3.1 amps, but that's not enough to actually get this to run. But the main thing is that we can't change this at all. These buttons just don't seem to, you can change that, PSI, bar and kPa, but you can't change the PSI. So let's see if we can get this apart and see if we can work out what might be going on wrong with it and see if it's repairable. Okay, so to get this apart, looks like we're going to need to use one of these Allen key parts. This is a H4. I was going to guess that if we just take all of these screws out of the top, hopefully that will get us in there. So if you haven't got one of these sort of T-handle ones, you can just use a normal sort of Allen key set. It's interesting though, actually that one is smaller, so I might have to try and remember that. Well, that's well, this isn't very good, is it? Right. Okay, you can actually tell because it's thicker thread, so you should be able to tell. So if you look at the so if you take that slightly thicker hole there and slightly thinner width hole there, so you can tell which ones go where. So I've never opened one of these up, so it'd be interesting to see what we get inside. Not expecting much, just gonna have an air pump and most likely a tiny bit of circuitry at the top. Wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those sort of blob chip on board covered in a blob thing. It's not going to be repairable, but we'll have a look, see if it's something simple. But yeah, it's interesting that the new version of these Michelin ones, they don't have the ability to adjust it at all. They seem to remove that feature completely, which makes me think that this is actually a systemic issue. They know about this, and so that's why they've changed it on the new models. But yeah, my one seems to be fine, but for some reason, like I say, this is the second one my friend's brought and it's failed. Right, let's see if we can tease this out. What's holding it? Okay, that'd be that one. So that needs to be fed through that hole there. Right, let's move these out of the way so we don't lose them. I can't see anything else. holding it in, but no doubt there is something there that I'm not seeing. I think it is just this tube. Ah, I see what's going on here. Right, so the fan, little fan itself, has got to come off this shaft before we can actually get this out, because it's blocked by a bit of plastic. Right, that's going to make it slightly more interesting. So we need to try and get this fan off. Now, how are we going to do this? They don't give you much room in here to work with. I don't really want to break the fins on it. I need to try and grip it somehow, just to see if we can get it to pull out of there. Yeah, they definitely. How did they get that in there in the first place? That's not the. Yeah, that's not a very clever design, that at all. No doubt that's probably been sat in there for a long time and is seized on there. All right, let me try and get this fan off, and I'll come back to you once I've got that off and we can get the thing out. All right, that wasn't too bad actually. I got a screwdriver in where the motor shaft is and just pushed it up, and it seems to have popped out now. So hopefully, oh, it looks like you might. Oh, I see. What? Yeah, I think you can get it off without taking this off. I think you just got to get it at an angle to actually get it out. So let's see if we can pull through some of this cabling, which might make things a tad bit easier to work on. Right, that's that one through. I'm not going to be able to pull this wire all the way through because we've got the cigarette lighter style 12-volt socket on the end. So I'm just going to pull through some so it's out of the way. Okay, so what have we got then? So we've got, this is our output to the tyre. That's going to be a pressure sensing for this. That's our little pump, and like I say, it's got a little motor on the, so that'll be the main motor driving the air pump, but plus a little fan to help keep it cool. Okay, so we've got LED bar at the top. We know there's nothing wrong with that, so what we need to focus on in this board is at the bottom. So to do that, we're going to need to get this assembly out so we can get ourselves down there to the board. So it looks like a couple screws that's holding that motor in, and then hopefully that'll give us a bit more access. So take those out. Okay. Yeah, that lifts off out the way. Right, so here's our board at the bottom. This is what we need to focus on. So how have we got this mounted? We got some very small screws here, so we take these out. So like I said, not much on it. Didn't expect there to be much on it, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be a chip on board design, and we're probably not going to be able to do much with it at all, but we will give it a shot. Okay, right, I think we're going to have to take this LED board out as well, just because of the cable. I mean, certainly salvageable. You know, we got ourselves a nice little air pump there, so that's quite useful. Certainly some, yeah, exactly what I said, wasn't it? I thought that'd be the case. Chip on board. Okay, so let's zoom down and take a closer look. Okay, so before we dive any deeper, I just want to say a quick thank you to my sponsor PCBWay for sponsoring this video. PCBWay offer a high quality manufacturing service from standard prototype boards to flex rigid PCBs and even assembly. Why not take advantage of their $5 welcome voucher and get your first prototype boards free? Already have an open source PCB design? Join their shared projects area where you can list your design for sale, and PCBWay will donate 10% of the PCB cost to you as a way of saying thank you for your contribution to the open source community. Links are in the description below. Right, so I think the first thing to do is just some simple checks. So I'm going to put the multimeter on continuity and just make sure that these switches do actually work. I doubt they've suddenly failed, but you never know, so we will just check that first. Check the simple things before checking the harder things. Yep, that one works fine. Yep. Yep. Okay, so we know now that our switches are absolutely fine. So let's see if we can work out possibly what's going on. We've got a little diode there. So we've got a common ground across the bottom. So what are we switching then? That's not going anywhere, is it? So it's single-sided board. So this switch, for instance, here for going down, that's going straight up into the chip. And then our second switch, so we know the middle one works. Now the right-hand side one, where's that going? Looks again like that is going straight into the chip as well. So let's just make sure that nothing is, we haven't got any breaks here, so that should be ground. Yeah, it is. That one's not ground. Why is that one not ground? Right, so we got ground on those two there. I don't think that pin there is actually connected to anything. Ground, ground. Not connected, not connected. That's going up to the chip, and this one I would have thought would be ground, but actually that one's going to the top of that one there. Why is that going there then? Interesting. Yeah, that's an unusual layout then. So you would have thought that this would be connected to ground at one point. It's just pulling the, most likely pulling it high. No, pulling it low, sorry, when you press. But why is this one not connected to ground? That's interesting, that one. Okay, I don't think that's nothing to do with our problem. Just curious as to why they've got that tacked onto the effectively the output. So that one should then be between there and there if we press that switch. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Right, so what was you going to check? So we check grounds. So let's just check the... We can't go right to the chip. That's a little test point there. Why is that not connected? That is, yep. So that's fine. This one I think is going up to that test point. Yep. And this one is the next test point. Okay, so they're all going straight up to that chip. So, is the chip dead? That's the question. And that's what I am suspecting. Having said that, it does display some information on the LCD, but clearly it isn't actually letting you adjust things left to right. Excuse me. Right, so let's do some checks. Right, let's just check that we haven't got a short across this capacitor. And we haven't. Or have we? No, that's fine. Okay, so that capacitor's fine. Got a few other capacitors here. Very, very small pitch, these ones. Nope. 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 This one there. Okay, so they're fine. Right, so what else have we got going on then? So we got some resistors. We'll just check those, see if they're reading roughly right, or reading something at least. I do have my suspicions that this is going to be a case that that chip is dead. Sorry, the multimeter is off shot here. I'll bring that in a moment. Alright, sorry, let's get this in shot for you guys. I'm just going across some of these resistors to see if they're giving us a reading. $10K, $1K. Alright, looks like we've got a couple of diodes, so we'll just check those as well. So open that side. Full voltage of 0.2 volts. Let's check this other one. Right, that diode appears to be shorted. Completely shorted. Okay, so I found the first interesting thing is that diode is definitely seems to be shorted. So let's see if we can get that off the board and test it out of circuit and see what happens after that. Right, so I'm not sure if I'm going to need the soldering iron or heat gun for this one. Possibly heat gun, but I don't really want to blow any other parts off the board. I'll try and get in there with the soldering iron, I think. All right, let me grab some flux and we will give that a shot. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of flux. On there. And we'll see. Grab some tweezers, see if we can get this to lift up. So it's very awkward with all these wires because they're quite thick. So I'm going to try and just tuck the tweezers under it very slightly. Hopefully it gets a lift. Yep. And the other side. Okay, and we are off. Alright, how's the pads? Right, pads look fine, so now we've got this off, let's test this one out of circuit, see if it's still shorting. No. Okay, so let's put that to the side. So we know that's fine. And so have we still got a short across these two? Yes. Right, so we can work out where these traces are going. So that's in line with that diode. Got a resistor jumping across there. And we got output here is going to so both red and black are soldered together. Why are they both soldered together? Okay, supply in, supply out, going through to the switch. So the switch is on. Turn the switch off. Does that make any difference to this being shorted. Let's try that. Okay, so that's fine. That's nothing to do with that. It's just a case of when the switch is on. Right, so we need to pop that one back on in a moment. We've got a little Zener diode there. Let's just check that. .5. And there's another one lower down on the board. I'm not getting a reading on that one that way around, so let's pop our leads the other way around and double check that this way. And yes, 0.6. Okay, so that appears to be fine. Right, so do we suspect that this is going to be a case that that blob there has failed? So the question is, if the chip has gone bad, why is it that the middle one works and the two outer ones don't work? That is most puzzling. But we can see here, this one especially is just simply, it's just a pull down to ground. So I can't really see anything, there's nothing in circuit that would give a reason for that not to work. This one a bit more complex because it seems to be linked across to the output on that chip. Not quite sure why, but there we are. Trace there is going up, jumping across to there. So I think so far, as I suspected, this is probably not going to be repairable, which really is a shame. I throw away a bit of kit just for the sake of the fact that it's got a bad chip, so that's there. Curious, does that one go down to there? No, should do that. What goes there then? God, these pads don't make good connection on this at all. These test pads are useless. No, I'm actually on that pad. And it won't detect it. Okay. Right. So it's got a conformal coating on it then. That one works. So I think we're a bit stumped here. I can't see what we can do really to sort this out. I'm 99.9% sure that something underneath that chip, or that blob, the chip under the blob there has died. Following getting that diode back on, it's just going to be a case of chucking a bit of flux over. I'll just heat the thing up and we'll just see if by some miracle something happens, but I suspect that that has failed. Right, let me get the diode back on. Alright, so I've got that diode back on, so what I'm going to do is just chuck, I don't know, there's probably not much point in doing this. I don't think I'm going to bother with the flux actually. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be that chip, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and heat that chip up. Just wonder if one of the bonds has come loose underneath. Nothing's really loose here, I've seen this up there. It is actually reflowing most of the other parts as well, which is good. Right, slight crack there, so that's as far as I'm going to go, because that might be what I've just done, has killed it. Alright, let's let that cool down and then we'll screw it back in and see if it's made any difference. Okay, so I put that board back in and turn the power back on, and no, exactly the same problem. Nothing on the, well, the display's on, but not working on the buttons. So, last shot, I'm going to just heat up the back of it and press the buttons whilst doing so and see if anything changes or not. Okay, so I tried heating up the back of the board. I've actually delaminated the back now slightly, but that's fine. Yeah, I think what we can conclude from this is that the little chip itself has died. And because it's a stupid blob, we can't do anything to fix it. So yeah, I'm guessing, like I say, I reckon this was a systemic issue because the newer versions of these don't have the option to adjust the pressure. So clearly they knew there was an issue going on and just dropped that option out of it completely. But strange why my one works. I've had mine now for what, 5 years? 4 or 5 years, and only slightly older model, and works absolutely fine. So this is dated 2017. This is Tata Electronics. So it may be possible that these boards are floating around on the internet somewhere and could be replaced, but I don't know. I think we'd have a hard time trying to find one. If I can find another board, I will update you in the description below. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Hopefully you've learnt something here. If anything, if you've got one of these and it has failed, now pretty much you probably know why. Yeah, but yeah, unfortunately not much you can do with it, but it does have a nice air pump there, so we can salvage that out of it, salvage the switch, could salvage the LED lights, they're reasonably bright, so there's a few things you can salvage out of it, relay maybe. But yeah, apart from that, it's junk. So if you like the video, guys, please do give it a big thumbs up. Please let me know in the comments if you've had one of these and have had the same problem, as it'd be interesting to know how widespread this actually is. And I will see you soon for the next one. Cheers.